By the end of this video, I am hoping you guys can see this big issue that is happening right now, not just with Ubisoft, but in the gaming industry and in every industry as a whole, because this is going to be a big problem, not only for every game that is being created now by Ubisoft, but Ubisoft is in some big ass trouble in general as a company right now. And I do not think that is going away anytime soon. If anything, the only thing that's going to be going away is Ubisoft as a whole within the next couple of years if this type of stuff continues. Now, if you are not up to date with the current situation going on with Ubisoft or going on with Assassin's Creed, I have posted a couple videos on it. But basically what's happening is that Ubisoft is down over 80% in their stock over the last 5 years, and shareholders are demanding changes. This is mainly because they are releasing games that aren't finished, and the games that they do release are also following the exact same bare bones Ubisoft formula that people have been getting tired of year after year after year. Going to Assassin's Creed specifically, they have continued to completely disregard any attempt to actually do some research and try to make a game set in Japan respect the culture of Japan. I am not a historian of the Japanese culture. However, this has been proven many times by people from Japan that are angered about how they have depicted it in Assassin's Creed. Let me go through a couple examples here. Now, the most recent controversy and a big reason why a lot of people think the Ubisoft team pulled out of the Tokyo Game Show is because their recent figurines depicting the main characters of Assassin's Creed Shadows, there is a Torigate, one-legged Torigate with the figurines. Which, if you do any Googling, if the Ubisoft team, the Assassin's Creed Shadows team did 1 second of research, they would realize how disrespectful this is to the Japanese, considering the one-legged Torigate is only one-legged because of the Nagasaki bombing that destroyed half of it. Another controversy is that a lot of the architecture in Assassin's Creed is based off of Chinese history and not Japanese. And there's many more depicting just absolute disrespect for the Japanese culture, but aside from this, they also put hip-hop music when Yasuke is fighting, which is just an insane creative choice.
In my head. I said kill him. I'll wash away his failure with your blood. You will have to spill it first.
And then on top of that, not even to mention the biggest controversy that started all of this, which is putting Yasuke as a playable character in the game anyway and depicting him as a samurai. Now, I'm not a Japanese historian, like I mentioned. However, these are things that a lot of people are bringing up and absolutely attacking the game on, which a lot of them are very true and very real feedback and concerns about the game and about the company as a whole, just not doing any research or not taking any liberties to actually make a game in Japan respect the culture of Japan. And so you're probably asking yourself, how the hell does this even happen in the first place? What is going on at Ubisoft that is allowing a lot of these things to happen in the first place? Well, let's get right into it. Legendary Drops. He's a fantastic YouTuber, a great YouTuber. He covers a lot of different gaming content, gaming news, etc. Go check him out. But he released a video because he was contacted after a previous video talking about some issues with Assassin's Creed and Ubisoft in general and had some suspicions on things that are going on in the company. He was contacted by multiple people that work from Ubisoft that shed some light into the company and verified a lot of those claims.
So I spoke with a few developers from Ubisoft to shed some light on these issues. I started off by asking how Ubisoft internalizes and discusses general criticism from players and the rest of the industry, whether that's its repetitive design, agenda-driven content, or predictable games. They responded saying, at a high level, they rarely talk about it. At a project level, they brush it off as toxic gamer talk. As Asmongold correctly pointed out in a video of his, Ubisoft is filled with toxic positivity that prevents any growth. I then asked, what about the Japanese community's backlash over Assassin's Creed Shadows? It's obvious that they haven't done their research, and even the smallest details are going to be noticed by a culture that's as proud as the Japanese. They responded by saying that the criticisms haven't been talked about, and they've only issued demands that we mustn't engage with discussion on that topic publicly. Meaning everything that we've said up until this point, all the criticism that we've had over the years for Ubisoft games, even that of the industry itself, has fallen on deaf ears.
Now, I don't know who these people are, where they work within Ubisoft, what their roles are, etc. These are anonymous sources. But anytime you have people saying that they are being told that they're not going to talk about any of the toxic gamer talk publicly, or they haven't had any of the discussions about this real genuine feedback internally, you are in very bad shape. On top of that, the whole environment being a environment of toxic positivity is leading this company 100% down the wrong road, or this is one reason why their games probably have not been able to innovate over the last few years, and this another reason why they're afraid to probably take risks, just thinking, oh, no matter what we do with our game, it's going to come out and be good. Your games have not been good in a decade, probably since the original Rainbow Six Siege. I don't even know how there's an environment of toxic positivity when you literally have a stock that is looking like going straight down over the last 5 years. So now let's get to a little bit more of what they shared with Legendary Drops.
I asked, what benefits have you seen? Is there more diversity in thought, or is it creating a more one-sided environment? They said that so far the initiative hasn't had any impact on the team that I'm a part of. However, it's clear that some topics are taboo. What happened is now that people end up in a meeting with HR for trivial stuff, not adding smiley faces to a message or adding an exclamation point at the end of a message because some people are reporting it for harassment. One of the things that wasn't in your video is that Ubisoft had some controversy during the Me Too period, letting go of a manager in high positions, and some left on their own because they knew they'd be discovered. I then asked, what was the impact of this in the workplace? They responded by saying the editorial direction and overall mindset shifted from the boys club to safe content. Reaching for plain characters like Kay in Star Wars is a perfect example of this. The idea to have beautiful characters such as Baldur's Gate or Uncharted is met with distrust. The developer shared sentiments saying that safe content also leads to limited opportunities on the gameplay side. Even for Star Wars, we had to work with Disney, which would have shut down most attempts at depicting a true criminal underworld with cruelty and drama. When you put this developer's perspective in line with the recent failures and controversies at Ubisoft or any AAA developer at this point, it all makes sense. An overcorrection in sensitivity brought on by the boys club days that many studios experienced during their early years.
Now, I want to be very clear here. I do not think diversity in the workplace is a bad thing. What I think diversity in the workplace can bring is discussions from multiple different points of view to come together and make a creative piece of work that ultimately will be the best piece of work possible. Especially when we're talking about Ubisoft having a big issue within the Me Too movement where there were people that were going to be found out for probably doing some awful shit in the workplace. Get those people out of there immediately. I don't think any company is going to be successful long term if you're having people like that in the workplace. You are literally ruining people's lives. But I really do think Legendary Drops makes a good point here, specifically with the overcorrection of these issues. Going from a boys club, quote unquote, like you had at Blizzard, to going to the complete opposite is also going to cause issues. You need to be somewhere in the middle where you can be respectful of each other, and like the employee was mentioning in some of these responses, you can have taboo conversations in relation to your video game. If your video game, like Star Wars Outlaws for example, is expected to depict a true crime-ridden underworld, then the fans want to see a true crime-ridden underworld. If you can't even have an attractive character in a video game, how is that diverse? You should be able to have ugly and attractive characters in video games. That's how the world is. I don't understand how these companies don't get how big of an overcorrection you have in one way can also lead to issues, not only internally in your company, but also with your games, just like it could with the complete opposite of that, which obviously, apparently, was the culture that Ubisoft had previously. But it doesn't end there. Legendary Drops continues to ask them more questions that I think are very good in regards to what they think about the leadership of the company, as well as what they think about of the stock prices completely tanking and Ubisoft as a company completely tanking right now.
I asked, what has been the message from management to the staff about Ubisoft's declining sales? What do they believe is the reason behind it? They responded, "The fun fact is they don't talk much about it. They mainly focus on the fact that they reach their financial objectives, which are mainly achieved through casual player sales, not the vocal gamer minority that are sick of what you described in your video." Also, something to know is that through the years, the number of management floors has increased to ridiculous amounts. So communication is often blurry unless they come directly from HQ, and even then, it's almost entirely corpo bullshit that isn't useful in the end. I asked another employee to verify the increase in management at the company, fearing that this is likely one of the biggest issues that's facing the company, seeing that lack of clear and creative vision. They painted a picture of a company that's not only overrun with management, but that's passively aggressive about removing higher paid and talented employees while slotting in underskilled and unexperienced management at a cheaper rate. They claim that Ubisoft as an employer shows little regard for their developers. What happens in practice is that they essentially push out senior engineers, promoting junior engineers to senior roles after just a few years of experience, oftentimes with experience in just one engine. Meanwhile, experienced developers with far broader skill sets are being overlooked. This constant cycle of turnover with inexperienced leaders leads to noticeable drops in quality, with bugs appearing in their games. The passionate, dedicated developers leave, while those who are just going through the motions stay behind. This doesn't just affect the technical quality of their games, but also impacts the design and creativity. For instance, you'll find designers working on FPS mechanics who have never played an FPS game before, or engineers who don't understand how the mechanics they're building are supposed to feel. There's a lack of passion and skill across the board, and the results are obvious.
Now, in my opinion, this is the nail in the coffin for Ubisoft. When you are making senior developers who have shown loyalty and done a great job over years and years and years of gaining experience with your company, and you throw them out for a junior who's just taking that role for less money, you have lost the plot, brother. You have completely lost the plot. A lot of companies will do this and get rid of employees to save money on labor. Labor is the biggest way that a lot of companies, not only gaming companies, but companies throughout the world, save money. But when you're doing this and you're getting rid of seniors to make a junior who doesn't have as much experience, or who hasn't used multiple engines, or doesn't have experience necessarily leading a team, and you're promoting these people in place of some of those really good senior designers, your games aren't going to be good. Especially in the example where they put a junior designer in charge of a game that was an FPS where they haven't used or played an FPS before. Now, this was probably in reference to X Defiant, and Legendary Drops makes a good point here. The biggest issues with that game and why the player base completely declined is because in an FPS game, the main thing you're going to do, especially if you're making one to rival Call of Duty, is you need to have good hit registration and a good netcode, especially in a multiplayer, obviously online game. This game didn't have either of that. So the one thing that didn't feel good in the game was shooting people. That's the main thing that you do in the game. And the fact that leaders of the company are only focused on their financial objectives, which, I'm sorry, cannot be going well. Your financials are going terribly. That's why your shareholders are trying to make changes in the company and pulling out their investments. However, when you're only talking about your financial objectives and you're not talking about the diehard player base that actually wants your game to be good, you have failed at the core level of your company. You have completely failed, and I don't think anything's going to be changing with their upcoming games, especially anything like Assassin's Creed Shadows that's being worked on or about to come out now. If they're going to make changes with this company, it's going to take years and years and years and fundamental changes deep within Ubisoft to actually start seeing the results within the games that they're releasing. So that's pretty much it. All I really wanted to talk about. I've said it once. I'm going to say it again. I would not want to be a Ubisoft employee right now. It seems terrible. If I was working there, my passion for games would be diminishing by the hour. Hopefully they can recover from this. I don't see them recovering, especially in the near future, but we'll have to see with their games coming out. They did delay Assassin's Creed Shadows, so maybe they're finally going to start to talk about some of this feedback and try to implement in their game, but I think it is one of those things where it's, a little bit too late at this point. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you agree, if you disagree, why do you agree, why do you disagree, etc. If you like the video, please like the video and subscribe for more gaming news, gameplay, and content very similar to this. I love you guys. Peace.